Hello and welcome to Skills to Pay the Bills in today's segment of JustAskFreeman.com. We are your hosts and co-hosts, Freeman and Carolyn Owen. Carolyn, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, Freeman, during our last segment, you introduced the new book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes, How to Avoid IRA Tax Traps, by author, financial advisor, teacher, and mentor David F. Royer. Now, just to review quickly, you touched on the required minimum distribution, taking advantage of the stretch option, designated beneficiaries, establishing separate accounts, and having too much of your IRA at risk. So today you're going to finish our overview of the top 10 IRA mistakes, how to avoid IRA tax traps. So let's get started.
All right.
Now, Freeman, let's start with mistake number 6, which covers overpaying fees and loads on IRAs, 401ks, and 403b plans. Exactly what are fees and loads, and how are they taken out of our accounts?
Okay, that's a good question here. Let me refer to this Wall Street article here where we talk about the hidden cost of mutual funds. All right. The average expense ratio for most mutual funds is 1.3%. However, there are undisclosed costs. Maybe the participant or the owner of the mutual fund is totally unaware. Case in point, let's look at, let's say a 50-year-old.
Okay.
All right, he has $300,000, which he is planning for his retirement. And he says, well, I'll wait till I'm age 65 and then retire. Now, I'm going to use an expense charge of 2%. All right.
Okay.
Now, if he got, before the expense of 2% is applied, let's get 5% per year, all right? And let's see what happens. We're going to roll forward 15 years. Now we're ready for distribution.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to refer to this 2% because if there's a 2% charge, all right, for 15 straight years, the balance, or I should say the amount of the income producing assets, is about $460,000. Now, without that 2% fee, it would be well over $627,000, all right? So and that's just a 2% fee. Now, there are fees and loads maybe that's not disclosed. That can add up between 1 and 3%. So an amazing thing about this fee is not getting any interest during that time. Now, I want to give a little analogy here.
Okay.
If you have $500,000 in income producing assets, Carol, here's how that works. That is $10,000 per year with a 2% fee on that asset. Now, suppose you have $600,000. That means that's $12,000 that's taken out of your account. So really, 100% of your income producing asset is not working because of the fees and loads that are applied to your account. And this goes on and on and on. Now, as I fast forwarded, I talked about the gentleman taking his retirement.
Yes.
All right. Excuse me. Assuming that he only has $467,000 because the fees were coming out, was extracted from that account over the 15-year period. And he wishes to take 5% out and create an income. But I don't know whether or not that would be an income that he cannot possibly outlive, because now we're extracting 7%, the fee plus the 5% that he's requested. So what does that do? These fees erode that nest egg. Will that money last? So I would suggest that you inquire, all right, not only with your prospectus, we're not giving investment advice, but look at your prospectus. You'll see that the 1.3% is the base fee, but there may be other hidden charges, transfer charges. Buying and selling securities there's risk, as I mentioned earlier in previous segments, but if you look at the monies that are extracted from your nest egg over time is significant. It's almost like that $10,000 to come out of that asset and you're not benefiting from it, but that person may be on vacation using that $10,000 per year.
And I'm wondering if we're more aware of it now also, because when the 401ks and the 403bs started, a lot of the employers were doing matching funds. But now they're not matching. The employer is exposed to all the loads and fees, it seems. They impact him more directly.
Exactly. Well, we're going to talk about employer-sponsored retirement accounts, the TSPs, the 401ks, the 403bs. I'll refer to the employer-sponsored retirement accounts as qualified plans, pre-tax dollars. The non-qualified is after-tax dollars. Your taxes are paid and you purchase a CD or a money market account. You have a savings account. So I just want to preface the subject prior to us getting there. Fees are extracted from those employer-sponsored retirement accounts. So I think we ought to move to mistake number seven.
It talks about not taking advantage of the Roth IRA conversion saving strategies. Now, how are consumers not taking advantage of these strategies, and what should we be doing?
Okay. I tell you the truth, Carolyn, a lot of the consumers are unaware. You've heard me talk in various meetings and other media outlets. We talk about the fact that a lot of folks they're educated but not informed about the various tax advantages and tax strategies that are available to them when it comes to qualified money. All right, let's take the Roth IRA conversion. All right. First off, it's a 5-year wait, or I should say waiting period. Whereas the advantage here is that with the Roth IRA, you don't have to be subject to the required minimum distribution at 70.5. However, the Roth conversion is not for everyone. All right. I want to give you an example. Let's say we have $300,000. All righty. And you have to pay the taxes up front, both federal and state. So we're talking about $99,000, I'm gonna round up to $100,000 that would come out of that $300,000 nest egg. Now, one of the things you might want to consider is using the Roth IRA, where the distribution is tax-free. A lot of IRA owners are affluent, and they say, well, I don't need to take an RMD. I don't even need this IRA. So therefore, I like to pass this on to my spouse, children or grandchildren, all right? And the distribution from that Roth is all tax-free. Now, I just want to mention the fact that I mentioned that the Roth IRA conversion is not for everyone. All right. Suppose you are under the age of 59.5. All righty. I'm going to talk about a mistake here. Now, you can, within that 5-year period, take out the principal. Now, if we started with $300,000, we could take that out within the 5-year period, but there'd be taxes on the gains. Now, in addition to that, if you're under the age of 59.5, something could have came up where you need the funds. There's a 10% penalty on that too. The other mistake you could make is that you have a $300,000 traditional IRA. So you decide, you say, well, I'm going to take the $100,000 out of that IRA. Right out of the portfolio. Well, the first thing is going to be subject to taxation. The $99,000 or $100,000 that to pay off the Roth conversion tax reduces your portfolio down to $200,000. So in other words, you paid $100,000 in taxes for a $200,000 Roth IRA. If you're aged, here's where it might not be beneficial to have the Roth. Let's say you're aged or you have health problems, okay? Will you have time to recover the Roth conversion taxes? Okay. Now, some of the signs that you're a good candidate for the Roth conversion, I'm going to hit on that in a minute. But before I do, there is a way where we could pay that Roth conversion tax off or take without disturbing the whole $300,000. Well, you got non-qualified, which I defined earlier, monies in CDs, money market accounts, or savings accounts. We could take this after-tax money, $100,000, and have the full Roth IRA. And again, we've seen in our practice that a lot of affluent people that have IRAs say they don't need it, and it's a good tool in estate planning. If you have a spouse or your children, grandchildren, they can receive that legacy tax-free. I mentioned the fact that if you have non-qualified funds to pay the conversion tax, that's true. Now, if you believe that the tax bracket or your surviving heirs' tax brackets will be higher in the future, that's a good strategy to use to make sure that your loved ones receive the distribution tax-free. Now, I want to mention a sign where you're not a good candidate for the Roth IRA. Now, the conversion tax, I mentioned advanced age or in poor health, you're not likely to recoup the conversion tax. The conversion tax can also raise the marginal tax bracket. But I also want to mention there's another vehicle that we can take advantage of. And you know what that is?
The insurance arbitrage.
Yeah. IRA Insurance Arbitrage. Now, what that is you utilize life insurance to produce a tax-free death benefit. You build cash value, all right, which you could take out tax-free. Now, we got a few seconds here. I think what we'll do is we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about this IRA arbitrage in a little bit of more detail. I want to hit on that. So, folks, we're going to take a break at this point. I'd like for you to stay with us. You are viewing JustAskFreeman.com on Skills to Pay the Bills this afternoon. And stick with us. We'll be right back.
Minds can achieve anything. We make sure they get to college. Federal student aid provides more than $150 billion in grants, loans, and work-study funds to make college possible for anyone with the mind to get there. Because if given the chance, minds will do great things. Federal Student Aid, proud sponsor of the American Mind. Learn more about money for college at studentaid.gov.
You're welcome back. You're watching Skills to Pay the Bills in today's segment of JustAskFreeman.com with Freeman and Carolyn Owen. Carolyn, prior to the break, we were talking about Roth IRA conversions, and I was getting ready to touch a little bit on what they call IRA arbitrage. And this is where we use life insurance, which is a good tool for estate planning. Let me give you a good example. Suppose we have $300,000 in a traditional IRA.
Okay.
Now, you'd like to have this IRA transferred to your heirs. Let's say our children, grandchildren. And what happens is that we can look at a strategy and say, well, how can we get a distribution from this traditional IRA using this estate planning tool such that when the money is given to the children, the distribution it's all tax-free. Well, it's simple. We got $300,000. Let's pay the taxes, okay. All right, from that traditional IRA. So we extract $120,000 from it because we had 40% tax bracket. We have $180,000 left. That $180,000, Carolyn, we can use to purchase a permanent life insurance policy. Now, what are the benefits? Number one, it's a great estate planning tool which can pass these funds on to a legacy to generations. Number two, the death benefit is all tax-free. All right. Now it's building cash values. All righty. And the monies that those cash values can be taken out of that policy, again, tax-free. So what we had at one time, net to the heirs out of $300,000, $180,000. We used $120,000 to pay the taxes. And then we bought a single life premium permanent coverage for $180K. Net to the heirs, $400,000, like I said, tax-free. And the amazing thing is that you can use a combination of the the traditional IRA, Roth conversion, and also you can use cash value life insurance, give you permanent coverage, and you can. Now it depends on your tax bracket. Another good strategy too is to. We know that a number of folks reach 70 and a half and have to take a mandatory withdrawal each and every year, and the percentage increases with attained age at 70 and a half. And that's referred to as required minimum distribution. Well, if we start off at 3.65% at age 70 and a half, by the time you hit age 80, we have to take out 5%. So what we could do is pay the taxes on the required minimum distribution and then purchase the after-tax monies, a life insurance policy. Another thing we can do, since we can do annual withdrawals from an IRA to purchase life insurance. If we're going to establish an estate and utilize these tools, state tools, we can get 10% penalty free each and every year. All right, let's say you have 300,000, $500,000, let's take 500,000. You could take $50,000 out, penalty free. If you're coming out of the IRA, of course, it's subject to taxation because it's treated as ordinary income to be taxed. However, after the taxes are paid, you ready? You could purchase a permanent life insurance policy that offers 3 major income tax advantages. 1 is tax deferred. 2, it builds up cash value. And the tax-free access to the cash value via low interest net loans and tax-free death benefits for your beneficiaries. So that works pretty well. Let's say you borrow $10,000 from your life insurance policy to supplement your retirement income. There is a 6% loan, okay, interest rate, so you would owe $600 of loan interest. However, you're credited 5% annually on your policy. You follow me?
Okay.
So the net loan is just 1%. So that's $100. So you can utilize safe money products, which we specialize in retirement planning through IRA distribution. We're going to talk about that a little later on in the segment. And different strategies to help clients and their loved ones, children, grandchildren, and so on, and take advantage of some of the, or I should say, adhere to some of the income tax advantages that are available.
Okay. Now, did you want to go to mistake number 8, or you still?
Might as well go to statement.
Okay. Now, in mistake number 8, it talks about whether or not to roll over 401k or TSP or 403B plans to an IRA account.
Right.
Is it a good idea to move your funds to
Yes.
IRA?
Yes. We do it all the time. When I say we do that all the time, for those who are eligible for direct rollover, all right, to, or we say custodian to custodian, let me share with you some of the restrictions on employer-sponsored retirement accounts.
Okay.
Okay. Most 401ks, or I should say employer-sponsored retirement accounts, they have limited investment options. So with a direct rollover, a non-taxable event to your own IRA, you have a broader sense of the various options that are available to you to have your money grow, all right? Now, the plan guidelines can restrict the owner's access to their money. Let me give you a good example. Remember the young lady that came well, she was had retired for about 5 years, and she had an employer-sponsored retirement account just sitting there. And she had separated from service.
Okay.
Well, she didn't think about it, and I told her, I said, well, you know, even though you've separated from service, if you wish, and let's say she had $500,000 or more, if you took $100,000 out of that TSP, you're over the age of 59 and a half. You're separated from service. The trap would be, there would be a 20% withholding that would come out of that money. Now, suppose you're 59 and a half and separated from service.
What would happen then?
No, let me back that up. Suppose you're under the age of 59 and a half. You're separated from service. You want $100,000. Well, instead of 20%, it's a 30% withholding because you're under 59 and a half and there's a 10% penalty, Carolyn. All righty. As I mentioned, plan guidelines can restrict the owner's access to the money. You avoid the 20% mandatory withholding. All righty. And here's something very important. We've been talking about legacy last few minutes here. Your children and grandchildren cannot elect the multi-generational or stretch option from the 401k or the TSP or the 403b. Any of those employer-controlled sponsored retirement, I'll put that in there. Any event of premature death, let's say a husband and wife pass and the children are the beneficiaries. Mm-hmm. The employer-sponsored retirement account or the management of that account would require the children to receive the distribution over a 5-year period. Some will restrict them unless we could roll that TSP or 401k into an inherited IRA so that the loved ones, non-spouses, can enjoy the stretch option of receiving that legacy over their life expectancy, okay? Something else too, I utilize the IRA's publication 590. As a matter of fact, I'll show that to our audience today because we're specialists in this area and know how to do direct rollovers, custodian to custodian, transfer from one custodian to the other. And a lot of institutions, banks, credit unions in some sorts, sometimes, for the most part, they don't even allow the Roth IRA conversion. Now, you know that only 7.5% of all the companies in the United States offer a pension.
Yes.
Now. Okay, and you know, so therefore, as I mentioned, we were educated. We're thrust into these 401ks, TSPs, 403bs. A lot of times, we don't know. We make mistakes in distribution. It's so important to know how to have these monies distributed to you, the owner of the employer-sponsored retirement account, and how it's passed on to our loved ones. The nice thing too is to be, if you're informed, that any event of premature death of one of the spouses, and if, let's say for example, if I passed and I have 401k, mm-hmm. you could take that 401k, convert it to an IRA where you own it, already, and put that IRA or with spousal continuation and get the funds. And if you're under 70 and a half, you don't have to take a required minimum distributions. Let's say you're 65. So you have 6 years to have your IRA and your deceased spouse combine and take the RMD at 70 and a half. The thing about children though is that I advocate doing a direct rollover, non-taxable event, control that IRA, all righty? And our non-spouses can elect the spouse option, okay, the stretch option, okay, or the inherited IRA. But the thing is, they must start taking the required amount out, called the RMD for your loved one, that amount must be, the asset can be stretched with those payments over the life expectancy of non-spouses. All right?
Okay.
So that's the difference. And they must take the distribution within 12 months of the decedent. Now, with the 401k and the TSP, it's got to be done by October of that year in which the participant had passed, which could be a father, grandfather, whatever. You know, the time, I'm looking here at the wall here, it's just about time for us to close shop now. Okay. And when I say the wall says that our time is up, well, it is. And we hope that our viewers have learned some valuable tips regarding how to better manage your IRA investments from the book review, The Top 10 IRA Mistakes, and how to avoid IRA tax traps. So if you have any questions about today's segment, please give us a call toll free, 1-833-313-7233, which is 1-833-313-SAFE, or you can email us at freeman@justaskfreeman.com, and we'll answer your questions and also send to you. You have an opportunity to get this book if you're a client, the top 10 IRA mistakes, okay, and how to avoid IRA tax traps. Again, thank you for viewing with us. We'll see you in another time and have another great show. Thanks for watching.